You know, when my hands were sweating and waiting on this first episode of Nukitashi was to come out, I was very much just like, how in the world is interspecies reviewer gonna be, challenged in any shape or form? How are we gonna get something that's this crazy to happen? And lo and behold, the episode dropped and it happened. And dear goodness, this is a hard contender for that role. It just absolutely is. I can't even show you half of the episode in screenshots, because there is so much screwing going on that literally the channel will be dead if I were to show any of what was going on. All you need to do is just look it up on Twitter and you'll immediately understand why. There is not a moment where breathing basically is not happening. And just GG's to anybody that's trying to, again, show screenshots on YouTube trying to talk about this damn anime, because this is ridiculous. And we're going to try to find ways to talk about this show at oftentimes too. But at the very same time, this is by far the most craziest ass anime to really be animated ever. Like, sure, there's other stuff that's out there that, very much could also be a contender for an anime, like a Parallel Paradise. Overall, Nukitashi, you swinging out there, my boy, and you're swinging some meat out there as well, as we have heard and seen and just constantly been around, because that's literally what everybody is doing. So for those that don't necessarily know, for those that want to know the synopsis of the show, like I said before, think of Shimoneta, but the opposite, where everybody was once conservative and, things couldn't necessarily get out of hand for 5 seconds. Everything goes out of hand. Everything is basically a law to clap cheeks as much as you want. And if you don't do it, then you're in trouble and you could possibly get shot at, forcibly, getting your cheeks ran and all that sort of stuff. That's literally how the land and the law of Nukitashi in their world kind of works on that one island. Basically, falling in love with somebody or saving yourself for one person is exactly the opposite of what you should be doing in that place. In that place, you better start smashing or people are gonna start smashing you. That is literally the whole dang premise. And to keep it very much a stack,
it should have been me, not him! It's not fair!
Now granted, there's probably going to be some deep, dark, and messed up reason as to why the main character or anybody willing to oppose, the law of the land and all that sort of stuff. And I do agree that, yes, it's kind of messed up. You can't really just save yourself for one person, and falling in love is basically unheard of on that place. But at the very same time, an island where you could clap cheeks, go deep, and just basically lay waste to any hole that you feel like without any concern, sounds like the best place in the entire world. Why in the world would you want to stop something like that? Again, probably gonna be a dark ass reason, probably gonna be a messed up reason as to why everything is going on and everything like that. But at the very same time, that sounds like peak. Literally, they have a whole ass amusement park where you can clap cheeks there as well, which just straight up reminds me of ODOK Land, if you've seen that Gentai, where people were clapping cheeks at a Disney park basically. It's peak and it's amazing. A grand ass time. There's so much cheeks that are just getting absolutely ran. People effing in the streets, people in the damn teacups at that amusement park, whole classrooms just getting effed up in all shapes and forms and all that sort of stuff. Again, suffice to say, put me on that island, it's a GG's. I'm running everything. Everything's getting ran through, cheeks, all that sort of stuff doesn't necessarily matter. It's gonna be a own different level of governance of just cheek clapping. And if there is something that's absolutely gonna be done in that regard of governance, everybody is getting bread for sure, for sure. Which also brings up another added part of this whole discussion, which is how good was the smashing scenes? How good was all of it? To keep very much a stack, it's good, but I do have a complaint. Mainly, the opening was amazing, right? You had the Statue of Liberty holding up a dildo. That just peaked. That just wild, but that just absolutely peaked. And to keep it very much a stack, they did not hold back on that opening either. I can't even show you anything from the opening mostly outside of maybe some cool shots of people fighting. But ultimately, even some of that has dildos involved, and I don't want to run that risk. And at the very same time, there's just 4 whole shots of 4 different chicks riding on some black silhouette of a dude with his actual meat and literally doing all sorts of wild and things. And I'm like, that can pass for an opening? You can show that for an opening? Once again, as I said before, ecchi anime is just unmatched in terms of what and what can be done in the era of actual broadcasting. Once again, Ecchi Anime just proves the dang point that they will absolutely go further beyond any Call of Duty in terms of how far the boundaries can be pushed. Because I didn't think that was possible, and yet they did it, and it was amazing. Just 10 out of 10, possibly the best opening to an anime I think I've ever seen. But the clapping in the show itself is also pretty dang good. Just everybody, no matter where you kind of at or how things are kind of going inside the dang story, or just if you were living it normally, 9 times out of 10 you're just walking outside, constant clapping. That's just all you hear, that is all you see. And to be honest, I don't blame anybody. I don't blame anybody going to just dig into some girl's cheeks right in the middle of the street. F traffic. You bet the only traffic that needs to be concerned is where my thing is going inside of her hole. That's literally the only damn thing that you need to worry about. And then just as a whole, again, everything's just really good. The student council president girl was good and fine, and yeah, would clap the hell out of her too. Teacher about fine as shit. Like literally any and every option is just a absolute peak moment. It's just absolutely peak as well. Hell, even the main character's sister, if I'm gonna be real, is also kind of worth it. And then considering that she also wants her brother's meat, which is also wild and as well, Steam would very much not approve of that. At least the credit card companies wouldn't approve of that. But F you, we don't care about you. But when it comes down to it though, it is just amazing. The only issue that I have, and maybe this is just the first episode, maybe future episodes will have it in there and then I don't have to complain as much. But the only issue that I absolutely have is that there is no uncensored boobage so far. We have yet to see boobage just be absolutely shown, to be absolutely just thrown out there. The only sort of boobage that we have seen is in the opening with the dang sex doll. That's literally it. That's the only boobage. And that's not real boobage. That's not the boobage I came here to see. I can see characters getting clapped in various ways, much less came here to see boobage in all sorts of good ways, right? That's what I'm mainly here for. And yet, we haven't gotten that. And yet, we don't really have anything of note of that area, which is a bit disappointing considering that this whole show is just clap cheeks, the island, and all that sort of stuff. But we don't get the uncensored booba. Kind of disappointing, I'm not gonna sit here and lie. And I know somebody could easily say, well, the manga also censored it too. Like there is actually, at least as far as I've seen in chapter 1, there is literally no uncensored nippleage in sight, which is a bit of a disappointment. But then at the same time, something like Gushing Over Magical Girls had the same thing. Like they literally did not have any nippleage within Gushing Over Magical Girls, yet the anime took it upon itself and knew what people would want to see and gave us that. Yet that doesn't exist in this one, so I'm not really gonna buy that excuse, right? Unless Crunchyroll had a hand in things, which, you know, we don't necessarily know, but I'll punch the shit out of Crunchyroll if that is the case. But when it comes down to it though, we don't know what actually is the case of why it's not there, but still, or at least why it can't be added, but still, nonetheless, that just kind of is what it is. And I guess the last thing I could mention too is that the chapter 1 and even the chapter 2 of like the whole story that we have seen in the manga differs a lot from the actual show. Like yes, it will still introduce you into what the actual premise is, but it's mainly in the anime focused with the brother and the sister, and in the manga it was some random ass girl that we don't know that the main character ended up saving from getting McDonald's paid by some random ruffians, and that's just kind of how it was. So I don't know why they chose to do something different. I don't know why they chose to, you know, do something a bit different in terms of where the story takes place and how they go about things, because we see them in action trying to stop the whole perversion law and whatever, where in the manga that's, you know, kind of how that was, but in the anime it's kind of like what's before all that. And again, maybe that's just them switching things around, I don't know, but that is something I did want to know of it though. Now I know what you're probably thinking, does this absolutely beat Interfusion Reviewer in terms of the potential lewdness of this show? If they show nippleage, then that's a hard possible. It's a hard possibility maybe. But as far as right now, no, because Interfusion Reviewer didn't hold back worth of shit. They absolutely went ham and did what they wanted to do, boobage and all, and that's just what made that show honestly the peak in quality of all ecchi. But this show has the potential to do that if they go in that route. If they don't go in that route, that is a severe missed opportunity, and honestly, one of the biggest misplays in ecchi anime history, if I'm gonna be honest. You have a whole anime of people clapping cheeks, and granted, that's not the whole point of the main scenario of the story, but at the very same time, that is still going to be on screen 99.9% of the time, and you mean to tell me you didn't want to cash in on that? That's a little weird. So hopefully the show will actually, go in on it and, actually not give a damn and do what it needs to do, versus just hold off on that and just not necessarily do it. You thinking that possibly, it's not even showing that much nipple, it's just not that big of a deal, but to me it is. You don't go full ecchi, go into this sort of direction where literally you're showing people with, actual dicks and actually doing the positioning and all this sort of stuff, but then you don't go in on it. You don't do one thing and then you don't press the other button. That's baffling to me, and that's weird, and that's a bad call if they literally have the whole 11 episodes like this. I think this is just 11 episodes, but they only have the 11 episodes like this. That's a really bad call. But nonetheless, my interest is intrigued. I like this sort of story, and definitely this is the reason why I am super hardcore into ecchi, for sure. Honestly, at this point, this makes me want to do a parody of this damn story in my own damn story on this channel. I don't know how I do that. I don't know how, but I'll figure it out of some kind. We'll find a way. But that's just literally how it is for me, though. This shit just, this is some good quality. This is the good quality of ecchi that I wanted to see for a good ass time. But that's really, I guess, all I wanted to say for this one. So hopefully you did enjoy. Let me know in the comments if you watching this or not, or can you believe something like this exists? Because I ain't gonna lie, some of this shit just make me feel like, how the hell is this possible? But then again, this is why Japan at times can remind us that yes, anime is great, and it can be great all the time. But again, that's literally all I want to say for this one, so hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification on your way out, also on my socials, and if you'd like to donate to the channel, Kofi and Cash App is available as well. And until then, it's been Boy J, signing off. Have a blessed day.